happy Sunday to you. I just realized that I didn't set up my microphone up in time. How silly of me to start. Hey guys, good morning. Sorry about that. It's always a challenge to post out the stream or to get the stream started because I'm pushing out to so many platforms. I even have my TikTok over here on the side because I have to stream to them separately. But it's good to see you guys. It's going to be a great Sunday. I'm glad you're spending some of your Sunday with me. I'm seeing some great participation already over on the Instagram side. A lot of people joining in there, so happy to see that. So listen, you guys know how we start. I always like to start with a global roll call. So please, in the chats, tell me, where are you from? The city, the province, the state, the country. Let me know where you're from. I do that because I don't want anyone to feel like you have to be some sort of super data scientist to participate. You know, I try to make my content accessible to as many people as possible. So feel free to just tell me where you're from and just let us know. And sometimes, that can help the community also build, and you guys can help each other if people see like, oh, I'm from the same country, or I'm studying in the same program, or I have the same job, or whatever the case may be. Happy to see those connections take place. So I'm seeing some great numbers already on Instagram. I also have YouTube available and Twitch is also available. Today, I'm also introducing it so that my YouTube chat can be shown on my screen. So let me bring that up. So what do you guys think? I added this new window in my OBS so that YouTube chat can be available. I'm already seeing some YouTube participation. So this is great. Already seeing some people typing in on Instagram. Samir, thank you so much for being on YouTube. I see some of your questions already, which is great. But listen, let's start off with the global roll call, and we'll get to questions right after. Okay? So global roll call, YouTube, Twitch, even TikTok. Let me know where you're from, where you're joining us from. I love seeing that. I love traveling the world, so it's always exciting for me to see where people are joining in from. And it's also good to see how global data science is, right? Data science is just so top of mind right now for so many companies and industries and entire countries, really. So let me know where you're from. I'm going to be with you for the next hour, so it's always good to kind of just level set with each other and figure out where each other is at. Personally, I am on the West Coast of the United States. I live in Las Vegas. So that's where I'm joining you guys from. It's very warm here, very warm part of the country right now. But let me know where you're from. While we're waiting for people to type in, because I'm looking, I see some people on Instagram. While we're waiting for more people to join in or to do the roll call, I always like to start off with a opening note. I am looking forward tomorrow to the start of WWDC. That's the big Apple conference that happens every year. I believe that kicks off tomorrow, and I think it's for the entire week, or maybe just goes through Thursday. But obviously, there's a lot of speculation, a lot of strong speculation, that there's going to be some announcements around artificial intelligence coming from Apple. That's not to be unexpected. Obviously, Apple, should be pushing out some products in that vein. If anything, you can kind of put them in that category with Google, where Google has both Google and Apple have kind of fallen behind to companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, some of the other companies out there in terms of their LLM offerings, their generative AI offerings. So it'll be interesting to see where Apple lands on that. Apple certainly has the resources to, kind of push something out, make a big splash. So we'll see what happens. WWDC is their big conference every year. So looking forward to seeing, what they come up with and, kind of see where they land. So if you guys have any thoughts on that, would love to hear your thoughts on it. What are you guys speculating that's going to happen? They usually start off with a big primary keynote. I believe that's taking place tomorrow mid-morning. So interesting to see where that's at. All right, so you know what? Let's do something a little bit different. Let's kick off with the YouTube today. We usually kick off with Instagram, but the Samir writes to us. I am an AI undergraduate from the capital city of Nepal. Nice, good for you. I don't think well, I think we might have had people from Nepal. I think you might have joined before. So thank you for the support of the channel that you show. So Samir, I'm going to hold off on your question until we get some of the folks on Instagram that are checking in. And again, if you guys want to have your question on screen, I have my YouTube chat up. Unfortunately, I can't put my Instagram chat up. Would love to have that up, but I haven't found a way to do that just yet. But yeah, if you're on YouTube and you want to put a question up, it'll appear on my screen. It'll appear on the screen for everybody to see. So look forward to seeing how that works. All right, so going back to Instagram, I'm checking in all of my joiners. Yero Bari, hello, good morning, good to see you. I know you're a big supporter of my content, so thank you so much for that. Lots of people joining on Instagram. Don't be shy on Instagram if you want to tell me where you're from. So Dek Ashish says, I am from India and I am into data engineering. Okay, well, welcome. Nice to see you. Lots of viewers in India, so I'm sure you're not the only one in the live today from India. JG also writes from India. Let me know what part of India, because I know India is a big country. So would love to see, you know, what parts of India you guys are joining from. I've had staff in India before. Adam, we're not doing questions yet. Let us know where you're from and where you're joining in from. And that goes for everybody in the chat. Would love to hear where you're from. And again, it helps to create a little bit of the community around. And also, I am pushing out on X, but I'm not seeing any participation from X just yet. So if you're an X and you want to join in, you know, please let us know. Prince Kara writes that they are from Birmingham, UK. Oh, that's wonderful. Welcome. I've actually been to Birmingham. That was actually very early in my career. I became an independent consultant really in the first year of my career. And I was doing a little bit of everything, you know, doing consulting contracts, doing some of my own software. And I was also writing books. I was writing books for a company called Rocks Press. If you guys remember, you know, you kind of have to be a little bit of an old guy like me to remember this. But Rocks Press was the company that used to have those big books, and they used to have the red cover. They were known for the red cover, and they would always put the authors on the front of the cover. And I was one of their writers. I contributed to 3 different books, I believe. And I also wrote articles for their website. And this is way back. I'm talking like this is back like in the year 2000, 2001 maybe. Oh, and I also spoke at a couple of their conferences. But they were based in Birmingham. And I went to visit a client in London. I had this very interesting client in London in Hammersmith. So I went to spend a few days with them. And on one of the days, I decided to go up to Birmingham to visit my editors and my people at the publisher. So I actually took a day trip to Birmingham from London. I didn't know a thing about the train schedules or anything. I just showed up at the train station, I think Luton's train station, and I just got on whatever train was going to Birmingham, and I had lunch up there. You know, got to meet some people. So yeah, Birmingham's a very interesting city. So I've actually been there. So welcome, Prince Kara. Wow, we actually have our first participant from X. I am pleasantly surprised at this. Name is your ma'am, your mom. I'm sorry, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Hi, I'm Rukshana from Nelson Mandela Bay, South Africa. Welcome. I think not only are you our first participant on X, you're also our first participant from South Africa. I don't think anybody else has claimed South Africa in any of our live chats. So welcome. I love hearing that. I want to travel, and my goal is to visit all 7 continents. I visited 6. I just did Africa last year. I visited Morocco a few times, so I kind of crossed off the African continent by visiting Morocco. I had wanted to visit South Africa because obviously I've heard a lot of good things. And I remember about 2 years ago, I was participating in an online auction for a wine tour of South Africa. Like they were going to take you to all the different wineries, and I think there was even like a helicopter ride and all this stuff. And I missed the winning bid by not a lot of money, and I kind of regret that. You know, I kind of hold in the back of my mind of, you know, I missed out on that because it sounded like South Africa is a beautiful country, a huge wine region there. So unfortunately, I missed out on that. But yeah, I would love to make it out to South Africa sometime. But welcome, good to see you. All right, do we have any more check-ins on the cities and locations? Instagram is being really shy today. Let us Instagram. What are you doing? Let me know what city and country you're from. The other chats are producing a couple more postings. So Instagram, let's see if you can catch up. Let me know what city and country you're checking in from. Prince Kara writes, yeah, Luton to New Street. Yep, that sounds about like the train ride that I took. Manjit, good morning, Manjit, on Instagram. I know you're a great supporter of the channel, so thank you so much. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hi, I'm Manjit and currently starting to work on DS projects. Could you share some insights on Gen AI? Yeah, sure, Manjit. What would you like to know? You know, generative AI is obviously still a very broad field. We're seeing the capabilities for both text imaging, and we're starting to see more of the capabilities behind video, you know, as other tools like Sora get pushed out by OpenAI. So let me know what if there's anything specifically you're looking for regarding Gen AI. You know, happy to help as much as I can. Certainly expecting some Gen AI announcements tomorrow from Apple, or really throughout the week, Apple and their WWDC conference. But lots of exciting stuff happening there. So just let me know kind of what you wanted to know about Gen AI or any specifics there. Let's see. Real Slim Chadi writes, Dennis, I just flew from Sydney to Beirut. Wow. That's a long flight. I'm gonna guess that's not a non-stop flight. There are probably a couple stops there. Maybe through Dubai for something like that. I was able to visit Sydney. I had to cross Australia off the list for my continents. I was in Sydney for Christmas a couple of years ago. I was there probably in 2022 for Christmas. And you know how like when you stay at a fancy hotel the hotel kind of gives you a gift, like a tray of nuts or like a basket of fruit. So I was staying at the Four Seasons in Sydney, and their welcome gift was they brought an entire Christmas tree to my room. I thought that was just awesome, and I used that Christmas tree. I would light it up at night. It was so much fun. But Sydney was a great city. I stayed in the Rocks region out there, which was really convenient for taking all the ferries and stuff like that. So yeah, super nice to see you there, Real Slim Chadi, coming from Sydney. 20-hour flight. Wow. No, there's no way that was nonstop. If there is a Sydney to Beirut flight that is nonstop, that's 20 hours. That's amazing. Chadi, let us know if that was a nonstop flight or not. You had to have gone through somewhere, maybe through Dubai, is my guess. But let me know. Okay, so some of the questions are starting to come in. Oh, look, we have another joiner on YouTube, Estegra. I'm sorry if I mispronounce names, guys. I do my best. Estegra says, hey to you too. Estegra, where are you joining us from? Let us know where you're joining them. We're still doing our global roll call. If you join late and you want to just let us know where you're joining from. We also have, it looks like we also have a joiner on TikTok. JR, hello. JR is writing us from New Jersey. Welcome, JR. It says you're currently finishing school for finance and econ, maths and statistics. What school in New Jersey? There's a lot of schools in New Jersey, or maybe you study on the New York side. Let us know what school you're coming in from. All right. All right, so let's try. Let me try to get caught up on Instagram, because I know Instagram has a lot of followers. Waiting to see where Real Slim Chadi had his layover, because I don't believe that there is a Sydney to Beirut flight. So Manjit writes some clarification. I am looking for some project ideas to get started. Okay. All right, guys, so let's talk about that, because that's a very common question that I get. I get people asking me for project ideas or next steps to do in data science. One of the videos that I created recently was around creativity in data science. And I focused on how you can do creativity with how you see the world around you, the different ways that you perceive data, things along those lines. So Manjit, I don't want you to feel like I'm picking on your message specifically, because again, I get this message a lot. But when I hear this message, I sometimes wonder to myself if there is an opportunity there for creativity on your part. You can search for your own data sets and your own projects based on what interests you. And again, I'm doing this because this is what I did when I first started out. I went out and sought my own data, my own projects from the ground up. No YouTube tutorials, no books, nothing. Just, I say, hey, I'm a data scientist and I'm gonna put my creative mind at work, and I'm gonna find my own data and my own projects. Because if you really can't come up with your own projects, then I'd have to ask you, is data science for you? Is data science really something you want to do if you don't have the creativity to come up with those initial steps? As a data scientist, you should be walking around always kind of taking in data or creating your own data. Like I give the example of walking down the street, in the middle of a big city. How would you model the buildings, or how would you model the cars that are on the street, right? You kind of have to be able to see the world in those mathematical representations. So, start focusing on developing that creative side of you. Start looking into data sets around you. Most cities in any number of countries now have like these open data initiatives where they have to publish out data, right? I live in a city where police data is freely available. They are required to publish it out. I don't know of any countries out there that don't track the price of rice. Every country in the world puts out a projection on the production and price of rice. Go get that, right? Come up with your own models. Or find a white paper and duplicate their results, right? That's part of the scientific process, the peer review, right? Go out and try to duplicate the results of a white paper that's out there. Right? All of those are valid project ideas that you can do starting out, right? You can do that. There's nothing stopping you from seeking that data and saying, okay, well, I'm taking in this data. What's a hypothesis I can form from the data? Okay, I got my hypothesis. What are the tests that I need to prove that? Okay, I got that. How do I write those tests in code? Okay, let me go and exercise my Python skills on that, right? So I'm trying to not give you a very direct answer. I think that you're a smart guy, Manja, and I think that you can come up with your own project ideas. And again, I'm not trying to pick on you specifically, but I get this question a lot. And, exercise the creativity, exercise this opportunity for creativity to be able to come up with your own project ideas, okay? Let me know how that turns out for you, Manja. All right. Coming up here, I want to scroll back. Siva Karthik, I'm a computer science graduate and I've been working machine learning since a year. Can you recommend a few courses that can help me get started in my career? Same answer as before, Siva. No one is going to come along and call you a data scientist or, push you to be a data scientist. You can do that for yourself. Right? So you don't need another course. You don't need another certification. You don't need any of that. All you need is your practice, your repetition of being a data scientist. If you want to be a data scientist, go and do the work, right? At core, the work of a data scientist is to apply the scientific method to data, right? So you don't need another course. You don't need another certification. If you've been working in the field a year, then you've already proven that you can do this, right? All you got to do is just keep on doing it. Keep on developing the mental repetitions to keep at it. All right, so Real Slim Chatty, our friend in Beirut, does clarify that he went through Dubai, DXB. I was in Dubai last year. Great city. I'm glad I kind of crossed it off my list. Wonderful terminal in Emirates. The Emirates business terminal is one of the business lounge there is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. They let you go directly from the lounge onto the plane. I've never seen that in any airport before. I've been in a ton of business lounges across the world. Very unique in Dubai. I very much enjoyed that. Dek Ashish writes, what is your typical day like? Mostly getting ready for these live streams. These live streams are a lot of work. I enjoy them and I love spending the time with you guys, but it's a lot of work to stay mentally ready and able to spend time with you guys, but I do enjoy it. I will share more of my day in other videos and other outlets, but I want to get to some of the other questions. But thank you for asking. I appreciate your you looking out for my schedule. But a lot of my schedule also is just staying on top of current trends. Data science is so dynamic right now, and it will probably always be a dynamic field. So I just try to sharpen my own skills and talk to other executives, kind of see what the executive pain points are. That's what I do a lot with my corporate clients. And also just try to practice more and more of my leadership skills. I enjoy the leadership aspects of data science. I've been a manager for a long time now, a chief data scientist for a long time now. So that's kind of a different angle when you're going from a lead data scientist to management, but it's something that I enjoy. So it's something that I practice, kind of like on a daily basis. So that takes up a lot of my day too. But thanks for asking. Raja Kunekristan writes, hi, I'm from Sri Lanka. Well, welcome. I think we've had a couple of Sri Lankan viewers before, but welcome and good to see you here. Real Slim Chatty asks, what's your go-to operating system? Good question. And actually, I have this on my schedule to film. I haven't filmed this. I have the script for it, but I haven't filmed this. I am going to film about the tools that I use. So locally at home, I do use Mac. I use OS X. And it's nothing special. It's just a Mac Mini, a first generation M1 Mac Mini. It does have, so it does have the M1 chip. I think they're up to the M4 chip now or the M3 chip now. So it's one of the early M series chips, but that's what I use at home. When I use a cloud server, I usually use DigitalOcean. I don't use their special data science offerings. I just use like their standard droplets, and there I use CentOS for all the stuff I do. So I'm very much a console line guy. I'm really not a huge fan of notebooks. I don't use notebooks really a lot or ever. I try to discourage my staff from using notebooks also. I kind of like raw scripts. So at home it's just a Mac OS and CentOS on cloud offerings. So I say that also because you don't have to get fancy with the tools you use. You just got to do it, right? So so that's what I use generally speaking. But thanks for the question, Jadi. Good question. Manjit says, I love the answer. Thank you. I will definitely share my work with you someday. Good. I hope that helps, and take the time to just sit back and say, well, what do I want to work on? What interests me, right? What data sets can I go out and source on my own? So good, Manjit. I hope that helps. I'm just sharing what my experience has been. If that helps, then fantastic. I'm happy. Siva says, thank you, sir. Lots of love from India. Well, thank you so much. My analytics say that 20% of my viewers are from India, I believe. So thank you so much to India for supporting my content. Kashnav writes, hey Dennis, love your content. I'm an incoming data science master student at ESSEC Paris. Would love a roadmap for people switching to data science profession. And I have that roadmap. I have on my YouTube channel, I created a data science guide for students. I created that guide because I get questions like yours a lot, Kashna. I get a lot of students who approach me, and unfortunately, I don't always have the time to get back to everybody because I do have a client load that I try to maintain. But yeah, I do have a roadmap there for people that are switching careers, or maybe you're like an early graduate or somebody like you that's going into a master's program. I also issue a coding challenge in that book. In that video. I have yet to have anybody come back to me with code, because if you do the coding challenge and you work through it, and you come back to me because you're stuck or you want more help, I'm more than happy to help you in that scenario. But I do have a coding challenge in there, and really just kind of present how I did some of my studies and how I would do it now in current times. So please check it out on my YouTube. I think it's called the Data Science Guide for Students. But hopefully that helps. And if if you get stuck there, let me know. Okay. So I'm looking back on my TikTok. JR, I think I asked JR what school he was at, and he hasn't really responded yet. So we'll give him a little bit more time, see if there's anybody else on TikTok that wants to join us. If anybody else on YouTube wants to write in, the messages appear on the screen. But otherwise, I'm going to keep going here with my Instagram. It looks like Instagram still has a couple questions. And again, if you're joining us, we do our global roll call. Tell us what city and country you're from. You never know what kind of community that leads to. So just let me know where you're joining us from. You don't have to be a super data scientist to participate here. It's just, my content is open to everybody that wants to join. So Charmant Nicolas, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, asks, how do you keep up with data science trends? That's a really good question. A lot of it is social media, particularly on the X platform. X does seem to have a lot more discussion than other platforms on data science. I also keep up a lot with white papers. I do read some of the white paper archives. That helps me kind of just keep up with the general trends and the general implementations that are happening in the industry. Like, I'll give you an example. One of the, because a lot of people ask me about white papers, so I'll give you an example about it. One of the ways that I like to use white papers is white papers are excellent to help you understand where general trends are going, and also to help you see how different teams and researchers out there are using new technologies. So like, for example, when LSTM neural networks, were first put out there, people knew they were powerful. They just didn't know exactly how to implement them or what to use them for. So tracking white papers at that time was excellent for that, because you could see different teams across different universities and companies, how they were using the LSTM neural networks, right? So I like seeing that so like right now, you could be on there just kind of seeing how people are using the new generative AI approaches, right? The new underlying math and underlying neural networks, how people are using those. And it kind of gives you an idea of where that technology will find its appropriate use, in what industry, in what media, in what workflow it's gonna kind of eventually land. You know what I mean? So that's where I like seeing white papers, and that's one of the ways that I use to keep up with those trends, to be able to say, oh, well, here, this is where people are using generative AI, because I saw it that 4 different teams applied it in different ways, and this was one of the more interesting ways that it succeeded in, or whatnot, right? So doing it that way, I think, kind of helps you to kind of say, oh, okay, yeah, this is where that trend is going, or this is something that's emerging, that, kind of coming up ahead. So that, combined with X, combined with, just the general conversations I have with all of you, helps me keep up with the trends, because I get a lot of messages on Instagram and also some on X. So just kind of helping me see what questions you guys are asking of me also helps me keep up with the trends. And then, of course, if I see something like on the news, or, I have a lot of news aggregator sites that I read. I usually always kind of, click on those articles and understand those articles. I'm particularly, just kind of as a personal preference, I'm particularly interested in times when algorithms are wrong, and, they might cause some mistakes or cause some sort of, unintended consequence. Unfortunately, we're seeing this a lot with the self-driven cars, and I think we'll continue to see that. But I keep up with those just kind of like general news articles that make it into the public consciousness, because I think that's also valuable to see where the industry is going, where people's concerns are, things along those lines. So that's what I do. All right. Going down Instagram, Johnny Mulu writes, hey Johnny, I don't think I saw where you're from. Let us know where you're from. But Johnny Mulu writes, any recommendations for someone who is interested in data ops or ML ops realms? Um, sure. I'd like when somebody asks me that question, I always like to know a little bit more about their background. What is your background there, Johnny? Do you have a DevOps background? Is that why you're interested in that? Or help me understand why you're interested in that. I have some thoughts there for you, but I don't want to bias you ahead of time. So let me know what specific parts of that interest you or why that interests you, and then maybe we can go from there. So Kashnov writes, thanks a lot. We'll check it out and get back to you. Okay, well, good. I hope that helps you, and let us know how that turns out. Oh, so Charmant Nicholas writes, I am in Nanjing, China, using a VPN. Oh, wow, welcome. I don't think I've had a viewer from China on the live streams before, so welcome. Glad to see you here. I guess you're using a VPN because a lot of the social media networks are blocked in China, is my understanding of it. I know I've had employees that work for me visit China before, and it's always a challenge for them to get any sort of outbound connection. So I'm wondering if that's the case there. But thanks for joining us, Charmant. I think it's a little bit on the later side in China, if I remember right. I think it's nighttime there. So I'm glad to see you join. So going back to YouTube, Samir writes, hey, did you already answer my questions, or are you going to comment later? I lost connection for a moment. Samir, no, I did not address your question yet. So this is a good time for me to do it. So let me go back. So Samir writes, hey Dennis, I hope you remember me. I asked you about my founder's internship in a startup. Your guidance helped me a lot in the interview, and I was able to open up a lot better. Anyways, the first round opened up a lot better. Well, great, congratulations. I hope that interview went well for you. Yeah, I think I remember. This is the internship you were talking about, where you were going to be working directly with the CTO and the CEO or something like that. I can't remember what industry it was in, but yeah, I think I remember you from the previous chat. Samir continues. First round feels pretty good. My today's question for you is, how can I successfully land the second round interview with CEOs and CTOs companies? Thanks a lot, Dennis. You're building the future of students like me. Thanks a lot. Well, you're welcome. I certainly hope it helps students and professionals alike. I work with students because they I get so many messages from them. There's a lot of data science students all around the world, which is great. I do also work with corporate clients. I am available for consultations there also. But how do you land successfully the second round interview? That's hard to say, because it's so dependent on the different practices and the process that the company that you're applying to has. It depends on if they have a formal recruiting program, which they may or may not do. Some companies do, others don't. It also depends on how the first interview went. You can never really tell with these things how they go. Sometimes they go better than you think they do. Sometimes they go worse than you think they do. So it's really hard for me to kind of guide you specifically. The only thing I would tell you is to kind of still keep on reinforcing those principles of stay enthusiastic, stay ready for the things they're going to ask of you, and really just try to show as much interest as you can. Sometimes internships work out, sometimes they don't, but everything happens for a reason. But it sounds like you put your best foot forward already, which is great. That's you've done your part. So now you kind of have to leave it up to the company, and just kind of let it decide if it's for you or not. If it's not for you, that doesn't change anything about you. It just means that you need to keep going and find other opportunities, keep refining your skills. But I think you'll be just fine. So stay optimistic, and let me know how it turns out for you. I do on my filming schedule, I do have some shorts that I want to film around two things. One, internship interviewing tips, because I have done a lot of intern hiring in the past. and also how to have a successful internship, because I also have managed interns in the past. I usually get some sort of summer interns. So I'm going to have some short videos coming up on those topics because I think they are important. And I think there are some key things that you can be doing during the internship itself. But, Samir, stay positive. You're going to be just fine whether you get the internship or not. But, let me know how it turns out. Just stay enthusiastic. That enthusiasm's important. Stay coachable. That's also important. But you're going to be just fine. But I am curious to see how that turns out for you. Okay, so let me know. Lots of people still joining on Instagram. So if you have joined us recently, please let us know what city and country you're joining us from. And if anybody else has questions on data science, feel free to push it out. If I've missed your question, I apologize. Feel free to retype it in the chat. I try to get to everybody's questions and, try to kind of, make sure I stay on top of things, but it's not always easy with all the scrolling windows because, I am monitoring multiple chats at the same time. I'm only one person. I wish I had a whole staff of producers to be able to help me and all that. But, I share my experience with all of you because I'm passionate about data science. It's what I've done for a long time, and it's what I want to basically dedicated my life to and basically going to continue doing. For me, data science is a learned skill where it relies on the more experienced people to help the newer people, kind of develop the real world skills that you need. Because you can sit there and read math books and theory all day long, but you need to eventually implement what you're doing in data science. So that's why I do this, because I view this as my role as a more experienced person in the industry to kind of help everybody else. So happy to spend the time with you guys. If you have more questions, please put them in the chat. If you just want to tell us where you're from, please put that in the chat too. Would love to see. Would love to see kind of where you guys are thinking. So Manjit, as a follow-up question, writes, one thing I would like to ask because I have been confused about it for some time. How much of DSA is necessary for a DS role? Manjit, could you please provide some clarification there on what DSA means? Maybe my mind is just operating slowly this morning, but I'm not familiar with that acronym of DSA. So please let me know, let me clarify there. Samir in my YouTube chat. Again, if you want to see your chat up on screen, make sure I don't miss it. You can definitely participate on the YouTube platform. Samir writes, everyone boost this profile, share this live. This guy's a true legend. Thank you for that. I appreciate the vote of confidence there. Again, I'm just trying to share what I know, what the reality and the experience that I have lived. I share because I'm passionate about this. I took the time in my career to make the transition to data, first of all, to figure out what I wanted to do for the rest of my life and the mastery that I wanted to dedicate myself to. And that's what led me to data science. So I think that's the enthusiasm or the expertise that comes across in the lives like this, because I've dedicated my life to this, and I'll continue to dedicate my life to this. So I appreciate, Samir, I appreciate the compliment. That's very nice of you. But this is really fun for me. It's fun for me because I'm passionate about it, and it kind of comes easy because when you master something and when you really want to dedicate yourself to it, everything behind it kind of comes easy. So, that's kind of, I think that's what you guys are picking up on when you see, the lives and all that. So Samir, thank you so much for your support. Really appreciate the compliment. That's very nice of you. Okay, so D Mistal, I see your follow-up. I'm going to get to it. I apologize for missing your question earlier. But to continue, Manjit writes data structures and algorithms. Yeah, so great question, Manjit. So Manjit's full question is, how much of the data structure and algorithms is necessary for data science? It depends on how broadly you define data structures. Are you talking about data structures because kind of like in the traditional computer science way, because, computer science has its own data structures? Or are you talking about data structures in the way you would use them in Python? And when I say that, I mean things like like how you would use dictionaries, how you would use lists, how would you use like the iterable objects, or how you would design your own custom data structures for your problems, right? Let me, is that what you mean by data structures? As far as the algorithms go, that's also a great question. And a lot of people, when they hear algorithms, they hear math, right? And there is some math in data science, but as some of you know, I'm not somebody who advocates having to know a lot of math in data science. I think the amount of math you need in data science is a lot less than what people think. So I'm more about one, understanding the underlying theory behind the algorithms you're going to use, and two, understand the proper, and number two is the important one, understand the proper implementation of those algorithms. An algorithm is only useful if you use it properly, right? If you apply it to the right problems. So I'm much more on what some people would say is the practitioner side. Yes, it's important to understand the algorithm, but I don't think there's going to be very few instances in your career where you're going to have to write an algorithm from scratch. We really we kind of just rely on libraries to have them already ready for us, right? That's obviously an accepted practice in data science. It's more about being able to take in a stakeholder's item and or a request, a problem, a business problem, and say, okay, one, yes, that's a data science problem, and two, here are some potential solutions for you. Here's what we can do, and here's what we can't do for you. And in the places where we can help you, these are some of the potential algorithms that we're going to explore in a proper champion model process. That right there is, I think, the best use of your time in studying how to do that. And I'm talking about that from the perspective of how you can carry out your own projects, how you can speak intelligently in that next interview that you get, in that next job that you land. By actually going through that process and saying, here's the problem, here's the potential solutions, and here's how I'm going to test those solutions. Again, that champion model search. I think that's where you should be focusing on when you're talking about data structures and algorithms. Again, I don't know if that's exactly what you meant, because data structures and algorithms can mean so many different things to different people. If you ask 10 different people what that means, you're going to get 10 completely different answers. So it just kind of depends on what you mean by that. So I hope that helped you, Manjit. If you need some clarification on that, let me know, put it in the chat, and look forward to that, okay? So let me go back. I promised to go back to our friend from Norway. Okay. Hi, I'm from Norway. Maybe you missed my question. Not sure if it's a data science question. Oh, Demistal, I'm sorry. Could you go ahead and retype in your question? Obviously, I did miss it, so I apologize. Please go ahead and do that. Okay, so Manjit also clarifies traditional DSA for like a developer role. Okay, if that's what you were talking about, data structures, then no. I think that type of like computer science-y or DevOps data structures are probably not as beneficial as you would think for data science. What I was referring to earlier, as far as like how you write custom data objects within Python, I think that's much more valuable. I'm not sure if I would recommend this for everybody because I think it's a little bit advanced. But one of the times that I felt that I really mastered data structures for data science was when I was working on a multi-threaded application for Python. Python and multi-threading is kind of funny, where how it handles like the worker threads and how it takes in data and how it locks threads and things like that. And you're kind of forced to use data objects to properly work with Python and the way the multi-threading is set up in Python. So if you kind of want like a learning by doing example, go and do that. Again, if you're new to Python, that might be a little bit too much to take on, But if you feel like you got a couple of Python skills and you want to learn how you would use data objects for data science, go and write a multi-threaded program in data science, because that's going to teach you how to ship data back and forth within a single object in Python, and that's super valuable, right? So Manjit, that's where I would point you. You know, if you want to say, I want to learn how to work with data structures in code, try some multi-threaded applications, or at least get used to shipping data. Like, or you know what? It doesn't even have to be multi-threaded. You can also just take two objects and ship some data between the two custom objects that you wrote in Python, right? That would probably teach you more about the data structures that you're gonna like actually use in the development and deployment of data science projects. So I hope that helps, Manjit. Great questions. You know, we had a couple of follow-ups there, but great questions. All right, let me go back to my YouTube, because my YouTube chat here is growing and I haven't really paid enough attention to it, unfortunately. So coming up here, Zayef Hassan writes, joining from Bangladesh. Oh, welcome. I think I've had a couple of viewers from Bangladesh, but always welcome to see more. So I hope you're doing well in your part of the world. I imagine it's very hot in Bangladesh, but thank you for joining us. Anis Rahman writes, hello, sir. Good morning, Anis. Nice to see you. He writes, sir, what are the factors that differs from a data scientist from data analytics? Great question, Zayef. Love the question. There's a couple of ways to answer that. You, at a core level, I'm going to give you two generalized answers that are very similar to each other. And I'm doing that because, you know, you're asking a question that could actually be a whole video. I mean, thank you for the idea. I might actually do a video on this. The way I usually describe this to my corporate clients is analytics is looking backwards, kind of seeing what happened. And data science is when you want to look forward, when you want to start making predictions or want to start automating your processes on future data. All right, so analytics is backwards looking, where data science is a little bit more forward looking and more predictive, right? I think that's kind of like the dividing line between, you know, if you wanted to kind of analyze what you do at work and does that make you an analytics person or does that make you a data scientist, that's the quickest difference that I can point you to. And to be clear here, I'm not saying that one is better or more preferable than the other. You know, when people say, oh, well, that's backwards looking, that's old stuff. No, it's not. It's very valuable. Analytics are super valuable. It's just, you know, that you're focusing on that data set and you're not necessarily making predictions going forward. You know, people use analytics for predictions or to kind of get a feel for where things should fall. And that's not always incorrect, but it's probably not ideal. But the point is that there's no better or worse between those two. I mean, I love that you're thinking about this from a career path perspective. You know, really beneficial for you to be forward thinking this way. But I hope that helps you. But that's how I would describe those two fields. Analytics, kind of backwards looking, whereas when you take that step forward and say, okay, well, let's make predictions. Let's automate this process. Let's automate this categorization process. That's when you're talking a little bit more about data science. So I hope that helps you, Sayef. So by the way, guys, I'm looking at the clock. I'm going to be streaming here for another 7 minutes or so. Instagram streams off at 1 hour. Can you believe that? That's so terrible, right? So most of my audience is on Instagram, so I want to honor them and keep the streams to an hour. So I'm going to go for one more hour. Another 7 minutes here. If I miss your question, I'm sorry, but you know, let's see what we can get done in the time remaining. Okay. All right. So I believe that Anis writes a follow-up. Anis is from Pakistan. Welcome. I think I have a couple of viewers in Pakistan, so thank you. I need guidance. I know about machine learning, but now I want to work on ML ops. Whenever I start any course related to ML ops, they don't discuss the practical work, just discussing theory. Any guidance? Now I am working on IoT plus AI, but due to lack of knowledge in ML ops, I am stuck here. Wonderful. I love a couple of things in your query. I love your question because it sounds like you already have a basis and you want to expand beyond that. So I commend you for that. And you want to talk about less theory and more practice. And I think that's awesome. I think that's good for most of us to be doing that. So what I would tell you, Anis, is that I need to know a little bit more about your background because we had a similar question. And I want to know why you want to focus on that specifically and if you have a DevOps background. One of the items that I share with my corporate clients is that it's important to have people on your team that have that traditional DevOps experience, that deployment experience of programs. And the reason I say that is because if you think about the life cycle of a data science project, a really well-run, ready-to-deploy data science project kind of converges on a point where it kind of becomes like a software deployment, like any other software deployment out there. It kind of becomes this DevOps exercise at some point. Because if you're really a good data scientist and you're able to write an algorithm, package it up, put it in its own Python library, and then have other people use it for predictive cycles in the future, then that library kind of becomes like any other software library out there. Like it's data science. It could be different code. It could be whatever you want it to be, right? So ML ops really kind of becomes just like traditional DevOps that you may have done in the past. So that's why I ask you about your past experience with deployment. Because if you've deployed a software, a software program, like literally any software program, then you are exercising ML ops. Now, the difference might be that some of those libraries may require more computing power. There might be a little bit more of a pre-processing step that's required, maybe a little more data validation to make sure that you're taking in good data at prediction runtime, things like that. But ML ops shouldn't be that much different than your traditional DevOps at some point. That library could have been written by any number of languages, any number of approaches. It really almost shouldn't matter to you. But again, that's assuming that you have a good data science team behind you that put that library together to begin with. So I hope that helps you, Anis, but it's really about being able to just kind of follow a traditional DevOps role in deploying ML ops. So I hope that helps you. If not, let me know. Again, this is something I might do a video on because it's a topic I discuss a lot with my corporate clients. But it's a good question, so I hope that helps you. Continuing with the YouTube chat, Satvik writes, hey, how's it going? Amazing to see so many new followers. Hey, Satvik, I know that you're a supporter of the channel, an early supporter, so thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you, my friend. Yes, the channel has experienced a lot of growth on both YouTube and on Instagram, so thank you all so much for that growth and support. It's really been amazing. Again, I'm just sharing what I've learned. I started this officially on May 1st, kind of doing this full time. So I've only been at it for like 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So I still make mistakes. I'm still new to content creation, but really happy to see all of you guys here and really, glad to see the growth and glad to spend the time with you guys. So as I said, I stream on Thursdays and Sundays, 1500 GMT. So happy that you guys are joining. And if you want to join me in the future, I appreciate that support. All right, so coming back to my Instagram, Gian YZ writes, I came across data science field recently and all I can say is that I fell in love. Wonderful. As a beginner in this field, how can we avoid getting overwhelmed by all the new technologies that are out there? Gian, welcome to the chat. By the way, guys, I think this is going to be my last question because we're running out of time here. So Gian, how can you avoid getting overwhelmed by all the new technologies that are out there? Start with what you can do, right? We had a great question earlier on analytics versus data science. Start with analytics. There's nothing wrong with starting with analytics and just kind of assessing data, assess where the data has been, and practice, letting the data speak to you. so many times we have presumptions of what the data should be, kind of a researcher bias. But start with analytics, and what does the data tell you? What is the data speaking to you about, right? And then from there, say, okay, well, what else can I do with this data? Well, maybe you can come up with some sort of regression model, right? Regression is kind of like the exercises you can do in between analytics and data science, because regression is predictive, right? I mean, there's rules around how predictive it can be and all that, but regression is predictive. So now you're getting into not just analytics and looking at data, but how can you use that data to create future predictions or future categories or things along those lines? And if you can do that, now you're taking more data science approach, right? Because what's regression? Regression is picking your features and assigning weights to them, right? That's regression in a nutshell. Well, guess what? That's a lot of data science in a nutshell too, right? A lot of data science is just about what weights are we going to attach to our features, right? And sorry guys, I have to do a couple things on TikTok here to keep the stream going to verify. But that's kind of like a good progression to somebody who's new. Start with analytics, have some fun with that, find some analytic results that you can turn into a regression model, work on regression models, and then from there start expanding into other models that are more data science oriented. So Gian, I hope that helps you, and I hope that kind of gets you started on the road. So guys, I'm looking at the clock. Instagram is going to cut me off here in a couple minutes. I'm sorry that I didn't get to all questions in Instagram, but obviously I am active on Instagram and I try to be active on YouTube. So thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for everything you guys participate with and let me know where you're from. I love hearing from different people from around the world. Again, Thursdays and Sundays, 1500 GMT. I also push content on a consistent basis to all of my social media platforms. I put a lot of videos out there. So if you guys have questions or follow-ups, feel free to put a comment. I'm also doing video comment replies to some of the stuff I get, because I get some really interesting comments and I love replying by video. And then also just to have some fun, I also put some memes out there. I hope you guys enjoy that, just to have some fun, have some laughs. But really appreciate the time that all of you have spent with me. It's been a lot of fun. I hope that you stay safe and stay cool in your part of the world. I know a lot of parts of the world are very warm right now, but thank you so much for spending the time with me. Really appreciate all of you. I'm going to see you again on Thursday. I'll see you online if you have other questions, but love the time with you guys. Hope you have a good week. Take care, everybody. I'll see you next time.